Hey guys, how's it going? Okay, so I'm doing my best to keep this focused and clear and the volume there. Trying. Okay, so we're going to start with number 1 and we're going to cross multiply. So we're going to multiply 19 times 12 and we're going to set it equal to 10x. Okay, so 19 times 12 equals 228. We're going to divide by 10 and divide by 10, and x will equal 22.8. I'm going to go ahead and write that over here, 22.8. Boom, that's number 1. All right, now we're going to multiply these two by each other. So I'm going to do 6 times x minus 12, and that's going to equal, how about I multiply it by the right one? This is why I'm using pencil, because mistakes. 2x minus 2, and then 19 times x minus 12. All right, so I'm going to distribute and distribute. I'll end up with 12x minus 12 equals 19x minus 228. Okay. So I'm going to move things around. I'm going to go ahead and add 228 and add 228. And then I'm going to subtract 12x and subtract 12x. And I'll end up with 216 equals 7x. And when I divide by 7 and divide by 7, I get x equals 30.86. All right, so over here, 30.86. Next, I'm going to use some proportions, okay? And I'm going to solve for x. So I'm going to go ahead and do 6. How did I do this here? Well, I'm going to add these two together. All right, so 6 plus 18 is 24. And I'm going to do 18 over 21. So this part of this little triangle over this part of that triangle equals, and then since I used this side of the triangle, I'm going to do it again with 24 and then put it over x, the large side of the triangle. And I'm going to end up with 18x equals, let me just really quick do in my calculator 21 times 24 and get 504. I will divide it by 18 and divide it by 18, and x equals 28. Oh, let me move up a little bit. So x equals 28, and boom, you're done with this one. All right, so number 4 gets a little bit complicated, and I'm going to go ahead and use some colors to decode here. And I'm going to mark my A and my D with pink with my highlighters. All right, and then I'm going to use green for B and E. Do pink and green remind you of watermelon? They remind me of watermelon. Then I'm going to use orange for C and F. Right, and hopefully this will help me identify the sides that correspond with each other. So I want to solve for x first. So I'm going to put x on top of my little triangle, and I'm going to see that it's between my pink and my orange, which is 27. So 27 is also between my pink and my orange. And I'm going to set it equal to, let's just go ahead and do it over 20. So 20, which is green and pink, over 36. All right, oh, and if you could actually see, that would be very helpful. All right, I'm going to cross multiply. 27 times 28. Oh, this is where I did it wrong. It's 20, not 28. Forgive me, guys. And that is going to be, so 27 times 20 equals 36x which simplifies down to 540 equals 36x. When I divide by 36, I get x equals 15. 15. All right, and then for y, I'm going to do something really similar. I'll go ahead and solve y over here. So here's y. I'm going to look at that, and it's between the orange and the green. So I'll look for the orange and the green. I'm going to put it over 25.2. All right, and then I'm going to look to this side again, and it's going to be equal to 20 over 36 again. I will cross multiply and get 36y equals 20 times 25.2. 36y equals 504. Divide by 36. Divide by 36. Y equals 14. Okay, and now scale factor. I'm simply just going to start with my smaller triangle, and you can start with your larger triangle too. But actually, let's just start with our larger triangle. It doesn't really matter. And I'm going to I want to look at this pink and green side, because that's the side that I started with. So that's 36, so scale factor. It's going to be 36 over 20. All right, and then I want to reduce that. So these are both divisible by 4, which means this is going to be 9 over 5. I can leave it as 9 over 5, or 9 over 9. 9 over 5, or I can write it as 925, or I can even write it as a decimal if I want, and that would be 1.8. Those are all of the 3 ways that I can write it. Okay, so for number 5, if it helps you, go ahead and draw a triangle and label it A, B, C, and then draw another triangle and label it D, E, F. So DE, it tells us is 9, AB, it tells us is 45, and the perimeter of ABC is 130 degrees. All right, we want to find the perimeter of DEF. So let's go ahead and mark our triangles where they correspond so we can go ahead and figure out the scale factor. Because remember, scale factor also applies to the perimeter. This one's going to be neon yellow, and then we'll do purple. Okay, well, I have my scale factor here. All right, and basically it's 45 over 9. This triangle over this triangle, and that reduces to 5. So my scale factor equals 5. All right, well, I know that this is my bigger triangle because 45 is obviously greater than 9. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 130 and I'm going to divide it by my scale factor. So 5 goes into 130, and that goes in 2 times, which would be 10, and there's 3 left, and I want to bring down that 0. So 5 goes into 30 6 times, which means my perimeter of the smaller figure is 26. Right? That is number 5. Let's now look at number 6, which a lot of people got really, really worried about. But fear not. You do not need to be worried because it's not as complicated. All right, it says the angles of a triangle. What do the angles of a triangle add up to? They add up to 180. And this is our ratio, 8 to 3 to 4. So what that means is it's 8x plus 3x plus 4x all equals 180. If I combine those, I end up with 15x equals 180. I divide by 15. I divide by 15. And x equals 12. Well, it wants me to write the angles of them. So I'm going to have 3 separate angles, which means I need to do 8 times 12. 8 times 12. And that's going to be 96. So one of them is 96 degrees. I need to do 3 times 12, which is 36. So my other angle will be 36 degrees. And I need to do 4 times 12, which is 48 degrees. So my last angle will be 48 degrees. Okay. So this says determine if the angles given can be similar. If so, write the statement of similarity and the theorem used. If not, write not similar. All right, well, straight away, we know that we have some vertical angles here. All right, and now I'm going to take this side, 28, and I'm going to put it over 21. Because remember, triangles like this hold on. Okay, I'm actually not going to do that because we don't have a similarity statement. Sorry, I read my notes wrong. So I'm going to take 28 and I'm going to put it over 39 because these are my two biggest sides. They're going to correspond to each other. This isn't always the case, but for this triangle it is. So 28 over 39.2. All right, and I want it to equal, well, these two triangles correspond with each other, or these two sides, 15 over 21. When you reduce them, believe it or not, it's both of them are 5 over 7. 5 over 7. So yes, they are similar. Yes. And they would be similar by a side, an angle, and a side. Side, angle, side. And you would say that triangle PMK is similar to triangle LMQ. Okay, let's look here at number 8. The important thing to know is that these are parallel lines. Okay, so think of it this way. These sides go on, and these sides go on. That means these two angles are alternate interior angles. These two angles are also alternate interior angles, and then these, of course, are vertical. So in a lot of ways, we can prove these triangles similar. So yes, they're similar by angle, angle. Granted, we only need 2 angles to show that they're similar. We were able to identify 3, but you only need 2. And we could then say that triangle, these two correlate with each other because they both have 2 lines. The A marks both with 3 lines. And then right here, S and C correlate to each other because their angles both have 1 line. So let's say PSA is similar to triangle FCA. All right, and then we're going to move up to number 9. So again, I'm going to go ahead and mark the sides that correlate to each other based on their measures. So 8 is my smallest, which relates to 10, which is also my smallest. 9 is kind of my middle guy, which relates to 11.25, which is my middle guy. And then I have 12, which relates to 15, both the largest or longest side. So I'm going to write my proportions, 8 over 10, and we want it to be similar to 11.25, and we want that to be similar to 12 over 15. All of these reduce to 4 over 5. So yes, again, they're similar, and that would be side, side, side. And we could say triangle DFA is similar to triangle CBR. Okay, and then let's look at this one. Don't forget, you guys, to look for a shared angle. Right here is a shared angle. So we want to go ahead and set up the proportion. We're going to do 32, this segment right here, over the whole segment, which is 40. 32 plus 8. We're trying to relate two triangles to each other, so this small triangle and the triangle around it. 32 over 40, and we're going to set it equal to 36, which I subtracted these two, 45 minus 9, so this side is 36, 36 over 45. And again, these reduce to the same thing, 4 over 5 and 4 over 5. So yay, they're similar. And that would be a side, an angle, and a side. Don't forget, it has to be the included angle. So side, angle, side. That is triangle BCD, similar to triangle ACE. Okay, let's flip it for the last couple problems. I went over this in class today, so just remember, I did for x, I did x over 12 equals 12 over 16, right? We cross multiply, and we get 16x equals 144, and x equals 9. All right, and then for y is right here. So I did y over 20, y over 20, this piece and this piece, equals, again, another segment, 12 over 16, 16y equals 240, y equals 15 when we divide. And then z, I'm going to relate z to these two pieces. So for z, which is a little up over to the side here, I'm going to do z over 15 equals this whole side right here, 48, over, since we use 15, this little portion right here, 12. All right, I'm going to cross multiply. Where'd I go? So 12z equals 720. When I divide, I get z equals 60. Okay, this is sort of like our similarity project. I'm going to have a little guy, and he's casting the shadow. It's 0.7 meters, and he is approximately 1.8 meters. All right, he's standing next to the Washington Monument, which is X amount high, and we know that the shadow it's casting is 65.8 meters. So I'm going to set up my proportion. The height, 1.8 over x. Oh, you know what? Well, okay, we could do it that way. And then 0.7 over 65.8. Well, that's going to be 0.7x equals 1.8 times 65.8, which will be 118.44. Divide by 0.7, divide by 0.7, and x equals 169.2 meters. 169.2. If you set it up differently and got the same answer, you probably just used a different method of setting up your proportion, which is totally fine. All right, again, we're dealt parallel lines. So we're going to go ahead and set up a proportion. Actually, I don't even need to set up a proportion. To solve for x, I know that these are congruent. So I'm going to do x plus 21 equals 4x minus 6. I'm going to subtract x, and I'm going to add 6 and add 6. All right, I will be left with 27 equals 3x. Divide by 3, divide by 3, x equals 9. Okay, and now I'm going to do y. Well, guys, if you remember mid-segment, right, and we know that this is a mid-segment, then it's half as long as this segment. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do 2 times 2y plus 2 and set it equal to 6y minus 30. All right, so that will be 4y plus 4 equals 6y minus 30. I'm going to add 30 and add 30 and subtract 4y and subtract 4y. I'm going to get 34 equals 2y. Divide by 2, divide by 2, y equals 17. 17. Yay! Okay, and then number 14, factoring. I promised you there would be one on your test, so make sure you know how to do this. I'm going to start by multiplying x minus 6 times x plus 8. So I will have x squared plus 8x, and then I multiply these two, negative 6x minus 48, and that equals 3 times negative 8, negative 24. I'm going to combine like terms. I'll have x squared plus 2x minus 48 equals negative 24. We need this to be 0 because we're trying to find our zeros. So I will add 24 and add 24, and I will get x squared plus 2x equal, or plus, minus 24 equals 0. Now I need to think to myself, what multiplies to negative 24 and adds to 2? So here I will think of those numbers that multiplies to 24 and adds to 2. That would be 6 and 4. So these were the numbers I was looking for, 6 and negative 4, sorry. I'm going to have x plus 6 equals 0 in one parenthesis, and x minus 4 equals 0 in another parenthesis. I'm going to subtract 6 and subtract 6, and x will equal negative 6, and I'll add 4 and add 4, and x will equal a positive 4. For now, I'm letting you leave it as 2 answers. And that's it. All right, let me know if you have any questions. Bye, guys.